ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive. Brought to you by Huntington Federal Savings Bank. Local then, local now. Member FDIC.
It is Monday, June 15th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. You can join the program by calling the Miller Lite phone lines at 877-420-TALK. That is 877-420-8255. Miller Lite Hold True Great Taste, only 96 calories. It is the original light beer. We'll talk about this later in more detail, but according to reports that are coming out, Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred has told ESPN that he is not confident there will be a 2020 baseball season. Unfortunately, Manfred said, I can't tell you that I'm 100% certain that's going to happen. Of course, we'll follow up with that later on. Speaking of baseball, we want to start the program with the mayor of Huntington, Steve Williams. We tried to get him on last week, but he's a very busy man. He's all over the place. You can't say that he's not an active mayor. Last week, we got the word that Baseball Park is going to be delayed, Marshall University. Of course, that's a project that Marshall University, the city of Huntington, all involved with. And Huntington Mayor Steve Williams now joins us. And we ever going to get this thing built? I'm sure that's the question you get asked a lot.
Actually, no, but I'm happy to answer it. I don't know when it's going to be, but it will be. The big problem, obviously, is what we all have been living through, is the COVID-19 pandemic, and it's had an effect on anybody and everybody. But the beauty of it is that in the midst of everything, we're still getting things in place so that when the construction the thumbs up comes in for construction, that everything is in place for them to be able to begin. We're specifically, the city is specifically taking care of the rights of way and the streets and everything that have to be rerouted a little bit in order to build it. And this is an awful lot, kind of like when Mike and I were playing together. I was on offense, he was on defense. We each had our own assignments. We know there are things that we have to do in order to be able to win.
How difficult is that to make everything happen in this pre-planning phase? Now that you have more time, as I know both you and Mike, you're not going to build this thing until it's actually ready to go. You have what you need and you do it right. But there are, of course, roadblocks to every journey. And how difficult is this one right now, or how tough has it been?
It's not really tough. It's just this is the process. When you are trying to build anything, there are barriers that spring up along the way. And if you expect that everything is going to be smooth sailing, you're going in awfully foolish anyway. So this is par for the course. We never dreamed that we were going to find ourselves in the middle of a pandemic. If anybody had said we'd have a pandemic, and said, of what? The flu? When a year and a half ago, when we bought the property, none of this was on the horizon, and when we transferred the property, none of this was on the horizon. But the things that have been on the horizon is making sure that we review the environmental, making sure that we get the rights of way cleared so that we can close down streets and we can build new streets. And it's called building something. And I'm not discouraged by it by any means. I don't know. There is nothing that is happening that is leading me to worry whether or this stadium will be built or not. Now, there are some that are saying, well, it's just not going to happen. Well, there are people who have never built anything anyway, so I really don't pay much attention to them.
Steve Williams with us on the program, and of course, I believe in you. We've had this conversation for several years.
Of course.
I believe in you, but you have to admit, if you'd have told me several months ago we were going to go through a pandemic, I'm with you. I would have asked you, what are we going to deal with here? And we have everything from pandemic, murder hornets, and everything else in between. 2020 just hasn't. Yeah, 2020 hasn't been exactly a banner year on the calendar.
Well, you know what this is called? It's called living. You run into barriers along the way, and but it's not how many times you fall down; it's how many times you get back up, as the saying goes. And the one thing that we have in Huntington is that we never give up. We just don't give up, and I'm really the fortunate thing is when you're driving through a storm, you need both hands on the wheel, and you're looking dead ahead, and you're not allowing yourself to be distracted by other things. I like to call them gnats. There are gnats that kind of get in front of you. If you spend too much time swatting the gnats away, you could swerve off the road and wreck. If you build something, you stay focused and you just keep going on, and that's how you're successful. All I would suggest to anybody who has doubts about this, if you're driving down the road, my guess is that you walked to your car. And my guess is that you're going to get out of your car and walk in the house. But you didn't always know how to walk. There was a point in time in your life where you would take some steps and you'd fall down, take a few more steps and keep falling down, but you just kept on doing it. Why? Because you eventually were expected to learn how to walk. The one lesson that we all learn in this is that we just keep going. We just keep going. And this is not something to be frustrated about. It's just something to just say, well, that's unfortunate. We're working our way through a storm, and eventually the sun will begin to shine, and that's when we'll be able to start construction.
I guess the positive takeaway from all of this, and my camera can probably address this more than you, I'm sure, but this allows more time now to get things in order the way you want, more fundraising. You can always take more donations and more fundraising.
For sure.
Yeah, so that's the good news.
Mike's a prolific fundraiser, and there's not a doubt in my mind that we'll be able to bring it together. That's what I was saying, is that there were a lot of things that we had to do, groundwork, so to speak, to get ourselves ready to be able to move forward on the construction. The same thing is happening with the ACF property that we're looking to develop. That's okay. We've been building the foundation. That, let's face it, the timing has been perfect in one regard. If all of this had occurred before we started saying that we were going to buy property, we would have never bought the property. We own the property now. It's just a matter of when the sun starts to shine, and then we'll be able to begin our construction. That's all.
Huntington Mayor Steve Williams joining me on the program. The baseball park continues. Hopefully we'll have you back on soon, and we'll have more information. But sort of wanted to make sure everyone was reassured that this thing was happening.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Of course it is. We said that we were going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're not asking anybody else to. We're going to do it. And Tom and Mike has a team around him to be able to get it done. I have a team around me to do what we need to do. It's going to get done. Just get your popcorn ready. You're going to be able to go watch a ball game in the spring and summer, a baseball game in downtown Huntington. It might be a season later than what we thought. It could even be 2 seasons. There's nothing that has said that it would be at that way, but it just doesn't mean that you give up on it. This town never gives up.
All right, I want to hang out with you at the ballpark when it's built.
All right. I'm looking forward to it.
Because I figure, popcorn's on you. I'll get the hot dogs. You get the popcorn.
You can get the hot dogs, and I will have the popcorn, and then we'll decide on whether we get Diet Coke or regular.
I'm
Diet
good.
Pepsi or regular?
I'm good either way. I'm good either way.
All right,
We
brother.
can make it happen.
All right.
I appreciate you
All right,
calling
Paula.
in. We'll do it again soon.
Yeah. Okay, pal. See ya.
Huntington Mayor Steve Williams. We're going to take a quick time out, come back. We're going to speak with the Associate Vice President of Intercultural Affairs at Marshall University, Maurice Cooley, when we continue with today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Now, back to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
We're presented by Huntington Federal Savings Bank. Welcome back to today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. I want to welcome to the program now the Associate Vice President of Intercultural Affairs at Marshall University, Maurice Cooley. And Maurice, thanks for joining me on the program. We get the word on Friday that Thursday night the Marshall football team does something really symbolic. At 8:46 p.m., they take a knee for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, and that was pretty meaningful that the entire football team decided to take that moment and have their voices heard. But what does that mean in your estimation that they did this, and not just one or two football players, that the entire team, the entire program?
Well, welcome, and I'm glad to be on the show, Paul. Oh, well, it means a tremendous amount. And, considering that Marshall University's team members that week was somewhere in the 80s, that was a decision that those athletes discussed among themselves as one of their forms of expression among many that they discussed in our dialogue. That they wish to do as a way to express their heartfelt feelings and the trauma that they have experienced, not only personally, but in support of what's going on around our country in the life of other people like them. And so but also it gave the athletes a strong voice that was strongly supported throughout the university, including Doc Holliday, the coach, and Mike Hamrick, the athletic director, and certainly our president of the university, Dr. Jerome Gilbert. We were all supportive of their opportunity to express themselves and to choose that particular form to express themselves. And it was really a unique moment.
And it's not exactly one that I've seen duplicated in this way with other universities. I could be wrong, so I don't want to speak out of turn, but it feels like this is something that I haven't seen really happen so far at too many other universities and institutions. And, of course, Marshall, with everyone here right now with the voluntary workouts, a unique opportunity for everyone to be together and actually do this.
Right. Well, you're right. I didn't carefully evaluate whether this has occurred at other colleges and universities around the country, but one of our assistant athletic directors did comment that who keeps track of these things throughout the country, that to his knowledge, he was not aware that any other college or university had undertaken this form of expression other than the students at Marshall University. And so likewise, that really made us even more proud of and being able to be there that evening was a very unique experience for me personally as well.
With this gesture, do you feel that this is just the beginning? I know a lot of people have voiced solidarity, have voiced their support, but this one seems to be more of a step beyond just voicing support. I mean, they're actually doing something symbolic. The athletic department is on board with it, and this is something that felt really organic because it was the players who wanted to express themselves.
Well, this is one among many of the recommendations that they introduced to myself as Vice President of Student and Cultural Affairs and 3 or 4 of my select staff. So they also wanted us to explore whether the university, for example, could have a George Floyd scholarship, and we're going to evaluate that. They seem to understand quite well the relationship between what's going on socially in the community and politics and laws. And so likewise, they wanted to be all involved in voter registration. And so our department is able to pretty much sign up all of the athletes. And so we'll go over to Buck Harless Center one day in the fall and sign up as many or all of the athletes as we possibly can, and so that they will have an opportunity to vote in our national elections in the fall, even though the majority of our athletes are from out of state. So I was really elated to hear that. They likewise suggested that they would like to spend time more in some of the public schools. They would like to do fundraising, charitable fundraising, to give to nonprofit organizations and children who have less than what they have. And they want to design a T-shirt. And so I know that some of the star players, and I won't name them in this phone call, who joined us in that call last week, going to develop a T-shirt design committee. And they're going to work with one of our design staff in Student Affairs, Dakota Maddox, and they're going to formulate a design, and we'll work collaboratively with them. And hopefully they'll come up with a T-shirt that they can wear, that maybe we can wear it. Maybe they will sell them for charitable contributions. And so that's a number of things. And we'll have a follow-up meeting with the athletes in the coming days to see how things are going, and also to see are there other things that they would like to do in support of who they are, in support of their feelings about the things that's happening in our country.
Maurice Cooley is joining us, the Associate Vice President of Intercultural Affairs at Marshall University. What gives you a bigger smile? The fact that the players, student athletes, finally are using their voice, feel like they can use their voice, or the fact that the university, the athletic department has, recognized that they should use their voice, or a combination of both?
Well, I think you got it right. It is, in fact, a combination of both, and I have spoken about both of those aspects of that. And I recognized and shared with the players during the phone call that if the largest group of organized group of men in the whole university are men on the football team. The largest group of organized black men in the entire university are black athletes on the football team. And so they have a strong voice. And as you have said, it was proud for us that they were given the opportunity and supported by the athletic department. And I reassured them that we will call on them in future times, that they will have a voice about many other things that the university is attempting to do and to grow to make life more successful and satisfying for all of our students. And so it was really, and they felt good about it. I think that they had a sense of pride that their voices and ideas were being considered by the university, because in fact they were.
The university, it feels, and I could be wrong, but it feels that Marshall's been a little bit more proactive, as we've talked about, than some. What steps are being taken next to continue this, to move forward? Because this doesn't end. We have this moment and we have this expression, but that's one expression, and we need to continue, obviously. So what do we do from here? Where do we go from here to continue this and to move forward positively?
Well, let me add first that for many, many years, that the Marshall has stood out among many universities throughout this region of the United States as being a culturally diverse university, because we have such strong principles about inclusion, race, and culture and ethnicity. But we have elevated our sense of commitment to these principles of living in the world with others by our president, Dr. Jerome Gilbert. He came here just a few years back, and he carried with him very strong feelings and elevated everyone's, at least most of our feelings and thoughts and principles about this. And in recent weeks, he has been even more elevated as a leader. So as such, one of the things that we will be embarking on is having a call to action planning committee. And the president and I have hand-selected a few of people within the university and some community folks who will begin a process of brainstorming for the purpose of developing some long-term, impactful ways to change the culture and the vibrations of the day-to-day living and the work at Marshall University, so that it will be affected by our students and their family members throughout the future. So that is at least one of the ideas, and I can assure you that the press will eventually hear about those as they're developed over the coming weeks and coming months. But they intend to be serious they intend to be impactful to change many elements of this whole fabric.
Joining us on the program, we are speaking with Maurice Cooley. He's the Associate Vice President of Intercultural Affairs at Marshall University. And as a reminder, if you're just joining us, the football team Thursday night took a knee for 8 minutes and 46 seconds at 8:46 p.m. Very symbolic. And, of course, these past few weeks we have seen, I think, a lot of voices finally be elevated, a lot of people having the opportunity to express themselves. It's sad that it took this moment to finally bring us to this point, but now that we're here, it feels like things are moving in the right direction, at least at Marshall University.
They are.
Was there anything? I'm sorry, go
ahead.
I'd
like to add that, I participated in the kneeling ceremony, and if you haven't kneeled for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, and if you would just try it, anyone listening to your show should kneel this evening and tomorrow, one place without moving for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. It was not until you do that you fully comprehend the length of time that it takes that someone is kneeling on someone's neck and they can't breathe. Then you get a clearer degree of the impact and the seriousness of what occurred on that day that has created a new voice for many people throughout the country.
Do you feel sports has taken the lead, or is at least among the leaders in this? Because we look up to professional athletes. We look up to our student athletes. I mean, we go to sporting events and we celebrate their successes and we root for them. And they have felt, I'm sure, for years that they've had to walk on eggshells because, they haven't felt like they've had a voice. And so we looked at them and now they're speaking.
Yes, you're right. And as we're aware that on a national level, particularly with NFL and many of the basketball pro athletes in the last 3 to 5 years, that their voices have been increasingly strong about race and discriminatory issues in our American society. And many have stood up very strongly about it and very tall about it. And I think, some of our athletes, too, I sense may be influenced by many of the fellow athletes that they see in other colleges, universities, particularly at the pro level. And many of them are acquainted with pro players that they played with themselves in high school and coming out of those rich high schools where they're some of the top players in the country. And so, but certainly I do agree that pro athletes, as well as many other celebrities and movie stars and whatnot in our society, have a strong voice because people tend to listen to those individuals, and we're influenced by that as well.
Our guest, Maurice Cooley, the Associate Vice President of Intercultural Affairs at Marshall University. If someone's listening in right now, they want to get more involved or find out more information, how they can be a part of what's happening with your department and what's going on at the university, where would you recommend them to go?
Oh, you can. That's a delightful idea. You can have them to call at Marshall. If you can just go on Marshall's website, look up, search, put my name in, Maurice Cooley. You will find my email, my office number. We look forward to any ideas, suggestions, things for us to explore, to consider, because we fully intend to involve the community's ideas for our considerations, and we look forward to receiving as many ideas as we can, because we have so much great work to do, and we're looking for people to be supported.
Maurice Cooley, Associate Vice President of Intercultural Affairs at Marshall University. Maurice, thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing what you come up with next.
I enjoyed it. Thanks for the invitation.
That's Maurice Cooley, and of course you can go on Marshall's website and find Maurice, and I would take advantage of that invitation. Find out more, find out what you can do, get yourself involved, have a voice, and really take advantage of the opportunities that are afforded to you. When we continue, John Mercer, Marshall University tennis coach, joins me on the program. A couple of positive things happening with the tennis program. A few players on the All-Conference USA women's team We'll talk about that when we continue with today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Buckle up. Paul Swann has the wheel on The Drive, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Making his third appearance since the pandemic began, let's welcome to the program the head coach of the Marshall tennis team, John Mercer. So that's number 3 for you.
Number three what?
Number 3 since the pandemic. Number 3, third appearance.
Third appearance?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm on a roll.
I mean, you.
I must be one of your favorites.
Let's see. Mike Hamrick has 2, because he kicked off the pandemic.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's been on twice. Let's see. Chuck McGill's been on twice.
Okay.
This makes 3 for you.
Wow. I don't know if it's good to be ahead of the boss.
You're head of the boss. Well, he can come back on soon, but you're 3. That's you're head of Ari.
Okay.
Let's see who
So
else.
far, so good.
Yeah, you're. I think you're head of Kemper, Tony Kemper. You're head of Coach Kemper.
Tony's a good one, though.
He is a good one.
When he's on.
He is a good one.
Yeah.
So you're head of him. I think you're. Let's see. You're head of soccer. You're head of both coaches combined.
Wow.
You're head of both of them.
Wow.
What is it about us, John? You and I, we seem to get along.
I don't know. That hockey connection.
It is exactly. It's exactly what it is. It's
Everyone knows you love your hockey.
Does everyone know? I mean, is that a known fact?
I think so. I think it's pretty well known.
Yeah, it's well established. And the fact that you and I don't agree on hockey teams or baseball team. Well, okay, baseball we're okay with. We can yield on baseball because, after all, I carry Pittsburgh Pirates baseball just for you, not for anyone else.
Yeah.
You, it's for you.
Yeah, well, thank you.
And the Steelers though we'll never agree on. So that's not even going to happen.
Well, hopefully we'll rebound in the world of baseball within a couple of years with our new GM.
Hopefully we'll have
bounce
baseball
back
in a couple of years.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Didn't sound good today, did it?
No, we're not having baseball. Baseball's over. It's not happening.
Just happening. You're throwing in the towel. You're being a little dark now, Paul.
It's true, though. Baseball's not happening. It's not.
Stay positive.
I don't think I can. It's not happening.
I love my baseball. Yeah.
Well, in a few years, we can both go to a baseball game to root Marshall on at the new stadium, because that'll be the closest we get to baseball.
Can't wait for that new stadium now.
Yeah, we're not going to get baseball though. We're not going to get MLB baseball. I mean, we're gonna be basically watching baseball at 3 a.m. from Korea, and we'll watch herd baseball. That's it. That's all we're getting.
Well, maybe we can buy a team.
You're going to have to foot the bill of most of that. You do know what I make, right?
Well, if they aren't playing, might be able to get a good deal.
Okay, we'll work on that. I'll be your silent partner on this.
Okay, I'll work on it. I'll talk to Mike, see what he says.
Which one?
So.
My Mike or your Mike?
Mr. Hamrick.
Mr. Hamrick. Yes, Mr. Hamrick. That's how I refer to him at almost all times. Mr. Hamrick.
When you're asking for a raise, yes.
Yeah, so. Mr. Hamrick. John Mercer needs a raise. We'll be applying for that in 2022.
So, well.
Do you get raises because your players do well? I mean, do you get coaches bonuses here because you land 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 student athletes to the Conference USA All-Conference teams?
Yeah, well, excited about that. That's really nice.
How does that work in a pandemic? I mean,
yeah. Well, I don't know. And, we actually got we played probably like 70% of our season, maybe 75% of our season in. So, tennis finishes a little earlier than the baseball and softball. We're usually done the third week in April. So we were 11-4 at the time. We only had 8 matches left, plus the conference tournament. So there were some pretty. Plus we played all fall. You have all those results from the fall in the individual tournaments. So you had a fair amount of individual tournaments. National rankings are being published. All that put together. Then Yeah, the coaches the coaches do the voting for the all conference teams, first, second team. So yeah, that was really nice. I mean, that Anna, Liz, and Jutte, all them making it. That's good. Bodes well for us for this coming year.
So let's talk about first the doubles duo of Liz Stefancic and Jutte Van Hansewyck.
Yeah.
I always wait for you to correct me on those. Named to the All-Conference USA doubles first team. So that's a big deal right there.
Yeah. I mean, exciting. One freshman and one sophomore. So, had a really good win over a team from Yale who actually won the All-American, which is one of the three major tournaments. It's kind of like on par with winning the NCAA championships. So it's all the same teams competing, basically. So they had that win. That team ended up being an All-American, one of the top 8 teams in the country. So they had that win. And, some other really good ones. So they parlayed that into a first-team All-Conference selection. So, it's good for us. Liz was a really good player, a state doubles champion out of Illinois. So she's got really good doubles instincts and worked hard on it, her freshman year. Had Jutte come in, and Jutte is just a fantastic athlete, moves real well, was able to they worked well together, communicated well, and really played well. So that was good. Good for us, good for the future.
Anna Smith named to the All-Conference singles second team as well, and second team ain't shabby.
No, not at all. A lot of good players. At the top of lineups on a lot of our teams in our conference. So played one almost every match this year for us. He's just consistently gotten better. Has just been really solid. I mean, it's a really tough out, and probably she's just one of the best competitors we've ever had. I mean, she just fights every single point, competes super hard, and that has worked well for her. And given her strong background as a junior, coming out of Pittsburgh, she really has improved, like I said, and definitely one of the top players in the conference. So she's proven that, won a lot of big matches for us, did it again this year. So another one, very well earned. That was exciting.
What does this translate to during a pandemic as well? Because I know it's difficult to run a program during a pandemic and everything you can and can't do. I know this for these young ladies are personal achievements for the university. It's more honors for the program. What do you do with this? How do you translate this to success, recruiting? Can you even recruit right now? Is it the same for you as it is for football? What's the deal?
Yeah, so we can't go anywhere, which hurts. So can't go anywhere, can't do any official visits on campus. Everything's shut down to the end of July. So really, what's happening now is just online stuff, phone calls, Skype stuff, just trying to network a lot. We're kind of in a fairly good position in that we have all 7 of our players that were on the team last year are returning. So they're all back. So basically, we have the same team that was doing well this year coming back next year again, and we're adding the 3 freshmen that we recruited. So we'll have 10 on our roster, and I'm sure it'll be very competitive for positions and so on. And the newcomers will be able to learn from the ones who are coming back, kind of get a feel for it and what it's all about. That'll be great. They met all of them on their recruiting trips, which is good because everybody got along really well. So it should help us, continue to build. For the next year, we're not sure. We have Anna, who's our one junior. So we know we'll be graduating Danny. So we know we have one spot open. We already have a verbal commitment for that one spot. So in theory, we're done the following year. If Anna Smith, our second team all-conference selection, if she decides to come back and play another year. So that buys us a little time to kind of get regrouped out of this pandemic and, get back out on the road, do some recruiting, and watch these players play. So that's really the key. I mean, you can do a lot of recruiting online and so on, but you really need to watch them play. How good an athlete are they? Can they really improve? Do you think they can improve? There's nothing like watching them play in person that makes a big difference.
John Mercer joins me, Marshall's tennis coach. The doubles team named to the All-Conference USA double first team, and Anna Smith named to the second team. So 3 selections. How well did Marshall do compared to the other institutions as far as getting players? Pretty spread out, pretty even?
Yeah, there's probably 4 teams that are pretty strong right now. Old Dominion was having an excellent year. They were ranked, I think, 24 in the country at the time that everything kind of shut down. Let's see, Florida International and Rice were up there. They were both around 35 or so, like in that area. So it's a very good conference. Florida Atlantic was pretty high. We were right kind of in that next group. We were right around 75. So, which, as we've talked over the years, and now that we've had these conversations for years, based off the previous 2 years, that was really exciting for us, to get back up in the top 75, because we had literally up until the 2 previous years had a stretch of 17 straight years where we were always in the top 75. And we hit some, bumps in the road and, some things that were kind of out of our control, or definitely were out of our control. And so it took us, a couple of years to rebound, but, this was a year we were rebounding, and, we were looking good and really strong, and had some really good matches coming up against some high caliber teams. And it would have been exciting to play them, because it could have maybe bumped us up even higher, maybe up to around 50 or so. So that was kind of disappointing. We didn't get to do that because, we were really, our confidence was really building as a team. And it was just kind of, things were kind of coming together. You kind of had, the kids who were freshmen the year before, and then now this year we're sophomores, like Liz was doing a lot better, and, Madison Blue is doing a lot better. And, those younger ones, it really, things had just kind of really clicked into place, and you could just see them just taking off. So, that's what's going to be the challenge when they come back, is jumping back into that, because, you've had the issue that they went home, and, a lot of them haven't had access to their coaches and so on, their coaches at home, their clubs and so on. So we'll see. Hopefully they can, kind of get back into that here, before the summer ends, and come, August, hopefully we'll be, ready to go and start playing, and, start playing some tournaments and stuff, which we have on the schedule right now. So we should be hopefully playing, the middle of September.
That reminds me, I wanted to ask you, I don't know what the schedule is going to look like as far as the future is concerned, but with a lot of concern during this pandemic of how to streamline, how to cut costs, how to make the budget work. Yeah. Are there things that you can look at that you're trying to do, or the university with you are trying to do, to make your program more efficient, travel friendly?
Yeah.
What's going on there, if you can talk about it?
Yeah, well, we already have. We've already done things. So probably the most significant thing is that we've cut dates. So the NCAA allows you 25 playing dates, and we were actually down to 18. So we've had to cut out some things. We cut out spring break. We won't have that. We usually traveled for spring break into warmer weather. Got to play usually a couple of ranked teams. We had that on the schedule, so we had to cancel that. We had like a try weekend with us, Florida International, North Texas, that we kind of rotate around. They actually played here this past year. We were supposed to go back down to Dallas and play North Texas, so we canceled that. So we actually took out all flying trips. Everything's within driving distance. We cut dates. We actually have a fall tournament that we did last year that is going to be over in Charleston, that both us and WVU are hosting together. So at some point you'll start getting a lot of information about that. We've had some boosters over in the Charleston area who've really gotten behind it, really like the idea of what we did. And now they're really trying to make it into a big community event. It's actually going to be on TV. Some of that is going to be streamed, I guess, TV. That's how old I am. But it's going to be streamed. So there is, that'll help us a lot because it is local. We're not going to travel somewhere and stay and so on and so on. So, yeah, we're already working on, significant cuts. I have no idea. I just talked to my bosses. So I don't know where the other teams are at this point, but, we definitely are willing and able, to do our share, make our cuts. And I think all of us together are just hoping this is kind of a one-year thing, and then we can kind of get back to the regular routine of what we were doing before, because the regular routine really enabled us to develop players and, build programs, and we all felt comfortable with that. And, you're getting enough competition with matches and, play. And, when you're cutting dates, anytime you're cutting competition down, that doesn't bode well for the student athlete, because that obviously is a love that they have if they want to do college. And, they definitely want to keep improving and getting better. So, it's all in the works. It's still in the works. Nothing's finalized. So, I'm sure part of it is we'll see how, the student body population is in the fall and so on and so on and go from there. But, it's definitely had a big impact on us.
John Mercer, my guest, Marshall University tennis coach. We'll get more information as we can about the schedule. And when are we going to play hockey? July 31st? What's the deal? August? What are we doing here? What are we going to do?
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully the beginning of August, up in July. So it should be interesting. It's really interesting how they had all been paid. So I don't know how they're going to do that, because I guess they'd already received all their salary checks. So, how they would divvy that up and so on. And, there's a lot of discussion, I know, in Pittsburgh, since I've all been, about being a hub city. But then there were some questions about, do you really want to be a hub city? And do you really want all these guys coming in from all over the world and, and being in your city and so on and so on, and kind of their entourages and so on. So, since there probably won't be any spectators at the games or so, what's the real advantage of hosting an event? But you know what? I mean, I'm sure you and me, of course, and everybody else out there who listens to sports talk radio and loves their sports, I'm sure it's a matter of, we just want to see some live sports at this point. So give us some hockey, give us some baseball, right? Hopefully some football in the fall, and we'll be ready to go.
John Mercer, my guest. We'll talk soon. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
You're welcome. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Go Herd.
That's John Mercer, head coach of the Marshall tennis team. We'll wrap it up when we continue today's edition of The Drive. ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Never miss a moment of The Drive with Paul Swann. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
We're wrapping up today's edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Coming up tomorrow on the program, we're going to dive deep into the basketball tournament. We're going to get the bracket tomorrow. We're going to find out where Herd that will start this journey for $1 million. The Marshall University alumni team with John Elmore, Ott Elmore, C.J. Burks, Ryan Taylor. Wow. I mean, here in a couple of years, we can add a Jansen Williams to that mix. I mean, Jared West, we could add him to that mix, yeah. Iron Bennett, we could add him to that mix. Maybe eventually we're going to get a Shaq Johnson. We're going to get Shaq in there. I want him in there eventually. Y'all don't know this, but I tell Shaq all the time that I'm better than him as a basketball player. Shaq, let me tell you right now, by far one of the best interns that we have ever had on this program or any program that I have ever been with, one of the very best. By the time it was all said and done, he was able to proficiently run this program without any problem whatsoever. I'm not gonna compare him to all the interns we've ever had, but if we were comparing him just to all the athletes we've ever had, Shaq Johnson's the best. Yeah, better than Elmore, better than Jansen, better than CJ. I know. I'm just calling these guys out now. But no. Hey, any team, Dago Pena. You know, we had like an alumni team with Shaq Johnson, Dago Pena. Get him involved. I'd put them up against some of these other alumni teams. So we'll get the bracket tomorrow from the basketball tournament. Looking forward to that. We might even have someone from the basketball tournament on the program. Stay tuned for that. Follow us on our social media channels. You can follow the radio station at ESPN 94. That's right, ESPN 94.1. Also on Facebook, you can find us there. On Twitter, you can find me at Paul Swann. You can find, of course, the show, The Drive with Paul Swann on Facebook as well. And don't forget the podcast. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast. That's going to do it for this edition. It's The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Back tomorrow.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington, your flagship home of the Marshall Thundering Herd and The Drive with Paul Swann, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.